Welcome everybody. I'd like to thank the jazz stylings of elevator jazz music for 3 hours, courtesy of YouTube, for our hold music. Um, Thank you for joining us today. I think we're going to get started. It seems like everybody has joined in, so we should be good to go. I will be your host. My name is David, and I am a frontline support specialist. We'll just going over today, we'll be going over just discounting and how to get your systems geared up for the holiday season and the holiday discounts as they come by. So just to start off briefly, I would like to remind everybody that to stick around till the webinar ends. At the end of our webinar, we will have a brief Q&A session followed by a survey that's going to be sent out to you as long as you stay in the meeting once it ends. Just to give us a bit more information on how well received this was, if there's anything more you'd like to see, any other kind of feedback or comments or concerns. And that's really going to help us. This is one of the first webinars that we're hosting that's been entirely spearheaded by the support team. So any topics, future topics, or any comments that you have for us will be completely invaluable. So moving on. Just to go over who presented and who contributed to this presentation and made this all happen and made it possible. There's myself, and like I mentioned, I'm an R series support specialist. We have my colleagues Rishma, Henry, and Ty from the support specialists as well, who all put in a great deal of effort making the presentation and just making this all happen. And then in the webinar today, we have Michelle and Emily, who are both part of, Amin, who are both part of our escalation specialists team. And they will be answering and monitoring the chats and the question and answer section. So they will be the ones that are answering your questions throughout the presentation and during the Q&A session at the end of the presentation. Just to go over a basic agenda of what we're going to be covering today, we'll be covering basic discounting. So just your go-to standard methods of discounting, discount rules, price rules, customer types, and then again, our Q&A session at the end if there are any questions. Feel free to ask your questions throughout the entire presentation and just by using the Q&A portion of the webinar tool. However, we want to remind you all that for our sake and for yours, if you have any more specific questions or questions that are really related specifically to your business or are kind of off topic, we recommend just giving the support line a call, and they'll be able to address and find whatever solution we really need to find for that. The escalation specialists will be trying to focus more on questions that are related to the webinar and discounting within your systems for this period. So why don't we just jump right into it, starting off with our very most basic of discounts. So discounting is just the most common way of applying discounts in your system. This is going to be the go-to method. It's manual, so you apply these discounts yourselves directly. And this can be applied either to singular items or to an entire sale. They can take the form of dollar-based discounts or percentage-based discounts. And we're going to go over a bunch of different methods that you can apply these manual discounts like yourself and create tools within your system for your employees to apply those discounts themselves. So let's jump right in. We have a little video here. There's going to be a lot of videos during our presentation today. I'm going to talk through most of them since there's no real volume or sound in them. But I'll go over exactly what they're covering, and we'll probably repeat them once or twice as necessary. So we're going to start off with our scenario with our friend Bob. Bob is a recent Lightspeed user, just started using Lightspeed for his company, and he wants to know how to be able to apply just a flat 25% rate discount to any of his sales at any time. So we're just going to let this play. I'm going to make sure that it's a clear quality as well and nice and large. And so this is just going over where we need to go in settings to apply these discounts and what kinds of discounts we can apply. So you saw that there's percentage-based and there's fixed-based discounts here where we can apply specific types. And there's a require customer checkbox, which will only allow these discounts to appear if there's a customer aware or if there's a customer attached to your sale. If you don't have a customer attached to the sale, we won't be able to apply that discount if it has that customer requirement. And as we can see, for the most part, in this test account, at least, there was none that we really wanted to be specific to the customer. So I don't think that we need to play this one again. If you'd like, I'm pretty sure that we have the workflow listed to get there as well. Like you just settings and discounts. Discounts is normally on the second or third row of options in your settings. I just have to exit all the way out of here to be able to move on from this. Next, we're going to look at a different method of discounting. So that we've already checked out how to just solidly apply a discount that you create in your system. This would be a method of discounting that doesn't apply to the items themselves, as opposed to it would be closer to using something like a coupon or having a line item on the bill that's going to act as your discount. So it'll be completely separate from the other items, allowing you to still discount those items themselves using the base form of discounting and then throw on something on top of it as like a separate line entirely. So this is using non-inventory items as discounts. Within Lightspeed, there are 4 types of inventory items. These inventory items are non-inventory, single items, box items, and assembly items. And single items are your most basic, just counting stock items. Non-inventory items don't count stock in any way, shape, or form. So those ones, we just never track stock or anything along those lines. And I'll just start the video here. It'll go over exactly how to create a non-inventory item. I might have to make this a little bit bigger, and let's make sure that that quality is where we want it to be. We'll just restart that. So creating a non-inventory item, you can create one directly from a sale, or if you go into inventory and item search from there, we're just going to start our sale by attaching something to it. So like a wine bottle, and then we're going to click on this new item button. So that's going to create a new item. And so during this process, we set the price that we want. We make sure to remove taxes. We can still allow it to be discountable, but I normally recommend that we don't. And then that's a really specific part here as well. Up here, we select what inventory type it's going to be. So non-inventory. In this way, we just won't ever track the inventory for this product. It'll always be a product that has no inventory or an inventory of null. And as you can see, pops up here is just its own line item, its own specific thing where now we're just adding a discount manually through an item. And so this wouldn't be recorded as adding a discount. It's recorded as selling an item that's non-taxed. And that's why we have this little asterisk next to it, and it shows up the same way as a piece of inventory. And that works if you say want to distribute coupons, or you want to use this as like maybe a barcode that you keep attached to your tills that you can just scan whenever. So as it is a non-inventory item, it would print out an item label, which you can then scan with a barcode scanner of any kind just to add it into a sale whenever you see fit. We're going to examine like another way of using these non-inventory items in just a moment. The next slide is going to go over using miscellaneous charges as discounts. And then we're going to cover how to better use non-inventory items. So I'll just move on from here and we'll make sure that we're ready to go for the next one. Oh, there we go. So using miscellaneous items as discounts. So this is great in a scenario where, let's say, your employees are not given access to creating or editing inventory. So if they never have the option of editing your inventory and you already haven't created these non-inventory items to be used, then it's not a problem. Like they can still discount using the miscellaneous charge button in your system, which can also be removed if you don't want them to have that option. But that being said, this would be the only option that would fit that category if your employees don't have access to discounting, can't create discounts in your settings, and don't have access to creating new items like a non-inventory item for a discount. So we'll go over the video. It's very, very similar to using a non-inventory item since it's just like a one button click. So start of this video, we're just starting a sale and attaching our item. So we're still going to attach our wine bottle, and that'll be just our $21 item. Instead of hitting new, we're going to hit miscellaneous. Now this pops up right down here instead of bringing you to the item details page, and you can rename it or leave it as miscellaneous charge. You can change the prices you see fit. I always suggest removing taxes since we don't want to tax flat rate discounts like this. If you're only supposed to be taking $5 off, we don't want $5 plus taxes to be removed. And this is kind of, I wanted to make sure to make note of this as well in the receipt. Maybe I skipped a little bit too far back. In the receipt now, we don't have, it's not the same bold that the wine bottle was marked as, like we saw prior with a non-inventory item. And this is because miscellaneous charges are reported on and recorded in the system a lot differently than any kind of item that you create, be it non-inventory, single, or boxed items. Those items have a bit more of like a breadcrumb trail or paper trail in terms of whenever they're sold. They have an item profile page where all of that history is stored, whereas miscellaneous charges don't have the same way of being reported. So you can still track miscellaneous charges. There's a specific report for them as well, but it won't be as reported on or as firmly kind of connected within the system as say a non-inventory item that's being sold. So this is a different type of discounting that gets recorded differently. And I can just escape out of this entirely. And so miscellaneous sales, we can go over how to remove that button in the next slide here. But miscellaneous charges are great if you want to say throw in a charge on the fly or give a discount really, really quickly, just for something that you won't really necessarily need to track. If you're looking for more of something that you can set up ahead of time and then your employees can kind of work with, then this might be a bit of a better option, is creating a button to discount. And so this kind of follows the same workflow as using a non-inventory item, where we still have to create that non-inventory item first. But this will make it so that that non-inventory item is accessible without actually having to search for it. You can just click on it like a button, much like the miscellaneous charge button or the new item button. So for example, if Bob wants to streamline that non-inventory item he used so that his staff has more access to it without them always having to go and search and make sure that they have the right wording that they're searching for. And to do so, that is using the custom menus option and creating custom buttons. So I'm actually just going to make sure that this is under the correct quality right from the start. And we are going to start, we go from inventory, we start in settings for this. Since we already have the non-inventory item created, we can go directly to our custom menus. And we're going to select the sales register tab because that's the one that we want it to appear, and we want this discount to appear available in sales. So we're creating a button title. We're going to call it $5 off. You can create tons of different buttons, but for this case, we're just adding an item. And we're going to add that button. Now, here's the other buttons. You can delete that miscellaneous charge one if you ever want to. It's going to be in this menu as well. Same thing for that new item. Like this is to create a new item. Now, when you create an add an item button, this gives you a little like edit tool that you can go into the actual item itself. From there, it's going to bring you to just an item search page where you can search through your inventory to decide what item gets added to a sale whenever you click on that button. In this case, we're going to take our $5 discount, the non-taxed, non-inventory item. And now we have that button that's created. So now what it's going to look like if we go into sales is we now have our new button, our miscellaneous button, and our $5 discount button that is now present, that whenever you click this button, it adds one of a negative $5 discount. So let's just see it in action. We'll add our wine bottle again, and then really quick, just click on this. And there we have it. It's ready to go. You can save it. It's on there. We have a $5 discount that has just been added very quickly and very easily. And that's something that we can allow staff to do that's really quick and simple for them, where they don't have to search for anything. And you can create tons of buttons like this. So you can create sub menus that have their own buttons in them. If it's specific to adding inventory, we can create a whole discount menu for different discount types so that staff can go in at whenever they'd like. And that'll always be tracked with those non-inventory items. So you can see which staff members are selling it at what times to which customers or applying this discount. So these have all been really just manual ways to apply your discount. It's really that you have to do something in order to apply it to your sale, whether it's selecting the non-inventory item, clicking that button, or adding a negative miscellaneous charge. From here on, we're going to start looking at the more automated side of things. So if you want to create rules or situations ahead of time where if such and such happens, a discount is applied to the sale. And the first type of discount that we're going to be looking at in this case would be through discount rules. Now, discount rules are typically used for quantity-based discounts. So that's like a buy one, get one, or buy two, get so much off, so on and so forth. Typically, it's either going to be removing a percentage or a fixed amount, just like our other types of discounts, our regular based discounts. And these discounts can be created ahead of time. That's what's great about them, is that you can set this up and set end and start dates so that you know exactly that let's say the weekend of Christmas, the week before Christmas, or Boxing Day week afterwards, you already have that set up, like say in November. Where you can find this is under your settings. So if you go to settings, it's on the third row. It's normally going to say price and discount rules. If your button only says price rules, then it just means that you don't have the advanced discount rule module added to your account. And that's something that the support team can very quickly do for you just by just adding that in. It's just something that we add into your account really, really easily. Just you don't have access to it. It's something that only support can do just from the back end of your system. So just starting with discount rules, we'll go over how to create one, what the criteria is and what they cover. So you'd start by going into settings, select the price and discount rule, click on the new rule button in the top right corner. And from there, I'm just going to make sure again that this is playing at the best possible quality for y'all. And so from here, we'll go into settings, click on new rule, and you'll have the option discount or price. For a discount rule, normally we can put in a name. You can select what locations it applies to. If you only have the one location, it's always going to apply to it. However, if you say have multiple, you can say like store A will get this discount rule, what store B will not. You can set a start date. If you want it to be indefinite, you can just set a start date without setting an end date and let that kind of carry on. Say it's a constant sale that you have is like a 2-for-1 or buy 4 get 1 free, something along those lines. You can always have that. And then there's customer types, which we're going to be reviewing close to the end of our presentation here. And just know that customer types are just a way that you can categorize groups of customers within Lightspeed Retail. Furthermore, from there, there's the option of choosing your quantity. So this is where you would say like buy 10, get 1, or and then this you can decide whether it's it must be the same item or if it's the same different items of maybe in the same category. You can choose whether the discount is applied to the least expensive item. That's normally what happens with like a buy one, get one. Even if it's the same item, it'll only discount one of the products. Or you can choose to have the discount apply to all of the items and just have an equal discount. So if we're doing like a 2-for-1 and you want it like that, we can set it up to be so that it's 50% off each item when you buy 2 to create it like you're buying 2 for the price of 1. Then there's also specific dollar amounts off. So you can choose like buy 10, get say 10, $20 off, or we can do it by percentage. So I'll let this play out. And this is just going over the standard creation. So if we created this, it would be 10% off each item as soon as somebody purchased it. And we're probably going to pick up, you just have to decide what items are applied to it. If you check on the on the right here, you can see that there's the option of adding singular items one by one. And this will always show you what the prices are, as well as like what's happening with these products, or like what products are being applied to this discount rule. Whereas you can also add groups of items at a time. So whole categories, whole brands, whole vendors, whole tags, and just add all of the items that fit that criteria. And so discount rules, like creating them, they're fun to play around with. There's a lot of stuff that they can do, but they also have some limitations that we should go over. So they're in for one, like setting expiration dates or anything along those lines. We'll see in this next video, I believe it's in this video, what happens if you try and interact with a rule that's either already inactive or something's happening with that rule. This one's also going to go over how to buy one, get one free, how to create a buy one, get one free rule. So we saw removing 10% off of each item. This is specific to buying a specific item and getting the other version of it free. So we are always going to select discounting the least expensive items. So only one of them is discounted, and the discount percent would be 100% off so that second item becomes free. And we're going to just tag our same item, the promotion shoe that we want to tag in for this product, for this discount rule. And then now that's saved on our as a price rule and ready to go. And that gives us, so with this active, you can have multiple price rules or multiple discount rules set up at one time for different items. That's never a problem. It's just you'll start getting into a bit more issues if there's multiple items that have multiple discounts that are supposed to be applied to them at one time automatically. So let's move on from here. I just want to make sure that I'm showing the right scenes here. So changing dates as I mentioned, changing dates on your discount rules might be a little difficult once the rule is active. The way that the system sees it, as soon as you make a rule active and the date has started, or that rule has begun, there's not really much you can do to change it since it's an active rule. What you should normally do is be either removing this rule by archiving it, or duplicating the rule so that you can re-interact with it as a new rule and then archive the older one that's kind of still active. I'm going to make sure that this is actually showing here, and just going to change the quality once more. And so just starting off from scratch again, we create our discount rule here. And this is going to give us a bit of an example of what would happen if we say set a date that's already started or is already active. And so this was made a little while ago, but let's just say we're already on that end date, or the date is already activated. We'll see what happens here when we change the amount. So just 10% off and save. You can see that these options become grayed out. So as soon as we have the ability, or as soon as it's created and active and has an end date, these options become grayed out, so you can no longer interact with it. Once the rule expires, you're going to see the same thing. So once your rule ends, let's say past the 25th, or we accidentally set the wrong dates, and for whatever reason it's now active and finished, you won't be able to interact with that rule anymore. It's finished and done. It's been completed. As far as the system is concerned, it's just being left there as a place marker. It's no longer active in your system, but you can't make changes to it. So what we normally suggest in that case is to either choose to archive that rule and start again, or the faster of the two options would be to duplicate that rule, which you can do just right here. It's going to be always at the top left corner of your rule details. You can duplicate it to restart a brand new rule with the details from the previous rule. So it'll be as if you're just starting a new rule, but it copy pastes everything over from the one that you just worked with. That way, you'll still have all the details. You don't have to re-enter anything, and you can rechange those dates as it's still not saved and active. You can also choose if, let's say it doesn't have an end date, one of those rules that you have that's kind of like consistent. You can always add an end date later on to say like, no, we're closing this. But once that end date has been added, you can't really change it anymore. So it's really one of those things that it becomes hardwired into your system. And then all you can either do is restart and duplicate, or just get rid of it entirely by archiving it. So there's a few things that we wanted to go over, just frequently asked questions for discount rules. So let's say deleting a discount rule. A lot of things within Lightspeed aren't deletable. So you'll often see that archive button replace it, or the question of archiving things. And that's really just to maintain those breadcrumbs and that paper trail that we want to have for all of our reporting and everything along those lines. You want to have sales history. You want to have history of this discount rule, so you can't really delete it. Even if it's never applied to anything, we want to know that it's never applied to anything, and not that it's a rule that was active or never active to begin with. And so that's why, even if as soon as it becomes active, all you can do is archive this to say, okay, we're good to go. We're moving on from this. We're keeping the data, but we're not keeping the rule. The second question that comes up is applying multiple discounts at the same time. So having multiple discount rules running or something along those lines. Typically, it's not the best idea to apply multiple discount rules, as items can only have one discount that gets applied to them within the system. That's why we have discounting tools like the price rule tool, or non-inventory discounting, like creating those non-inventory items to discount, because those don't take up the discount slot per item. They just create a new item in your sale. So let's say you wanted to apply an elderly or a senior citizens discount or a military discount on top of your discount rule. Since you can only apply one per product, you would have to use a combination of either the price rule and the discount rule, or price rule and non-inventory, or even a discount rule and a non-inventory discount rule, but it wouldn't be two separate discount rules that are interacting with the same item. And finally, the price button only presents the option to create price rules. So if you go into your settings and you really only see price rule and not price and discount rules, and that's just we're just rehashing that you just need to reach out to support so we can add on that advanced module for the discount rule to be present within your system. So moving on to price rules. This is the next form of automating discounts. It does take a bit of a different turn from discount rules, where discount rules mainly focuses on that quantity-based discounting. So buy one, get, or buy so many, get like this type of discount. Price rules are a little different in the sense that the way that they interact with the price of the items that they're applied to is just, it's not based on that quantity, it's based on completely different factors. So price rules do have the same designating terms as or just criteria as a discount rule. You can still apply it by location. You can still choose start and end dates, or if it's just always active, and we can still apply it by customer types. You can also choose to have extra discounts that apply on top of price rules, or to have item chart apply to all items, as opposed to the discount rule where we'd have to add all items to it. This has a designated button to say like, no, this price rule applies to everything within my system. So moving forward with that, there's a few ways if you don't include the all items charges. So if you don't include the all items charges, the search is super similar to the discount rule. You can choose to add, say, one item at a time, or you can choose to start going, by category or by brand and by these larger grouped terms. And that's something that could work very well if you're just trying to, say, apply it to larger amounts of items, or if it's something that we're trying to maybe apply like to just specifically to a brand for like a week or something. Let's say like you got a special deal from your vendor and now you're trying to get rid of inventory, or for clearance. So that's super helpful within this tool. So I'll just play through this to go through how we create a price rule. This one, it should be a very similar video to how we create well, I guess this is the best quality it's going to be, but similar to how we create a discount rule. So you go into settings, price and discount rules, click on new rules, and then you'll select the price rule. And so that'll bring us here. And that'll give us a bunch of price adjustments and stuff that we can enter to really separate, where this price rule applies, who it applies to, and what the application is. And so I don't think we need to repeat this video, since we've kind of watched another 2 videos that are kind of exactly like it, just for the discount rules. So we can skip this one over. The next video will be maybe a bit more informative. So I'm not sure if there is a video for this one. I think it just goes over the different types. So specifically for price adjustment types, there are 3 different types that we can look at. So there's fixed, markup, and margin. There is a 4th price that isn't, or a 4th adjustment type that isn't listed here. And it's based off of how many price levels you have in your account. So pricing levels are things that you can create and set to determine different pricing categories for your items. Normally by default, you'll have the default and MSRP price levels in your system. And if you have an e-commerce bundled in with C-Series, then you'll probably get the online price as well that's thrown in there. But for the most part, those are like the 3 most common ones that you'll see. On top of that, you have the access in settings and price. I believe it's not price types, but what's the word for it? I'm blanking all of a sudden for it. Let's say price levels. Yeah, so there's under settings and price levels, you can add as many price levels as you want. If you want to have a sale price that you can, turn on and off, by all means. And that's going to be another price adjustment that we'll go over in the coming slides. This one is just to re-go over that, you can change it by location. You can choose what date range it is, whether it's always active or not. And then you can also apply it to a customer type. So the 3 main ones, as we mentioned, are going to be the fixed price, the margin price, and the markup price adjustment types. And these are great rules if you already know your stats for your store, like how much your items cost and you have all that information entered, and you want to go by specific qualifiers for that price. So I mentioned here that there's also the price level adjustment type that we don't really have a picture of, and that's probably just based on the account that we were using didn't have a price level, but they won't really change much aside from just assigning that price level to those items when they enter a sale. So let's start by looking at the fixed price. So a fixed price, as it suggests, just sets a fixed price to the items it applies to. So this is great if you want to just set specific dollar values to items. Let's say you sell scrunchies, and those scrunchies sell at $15 each. But now for the next week, you want to have a sale where they just sell at $10 each. You can apply it to say that all items in that scrunchie category have a fixed price of $10. And then that's going to be the price as long as this rule is active in all locations and for all customer types. Fixed price is one of the easier ones to understand, since it's really just you're assigning a set price to whatever items are attached to the price rule. Markups are a little different. So markups work based off of the actual markup percentage of the item itself, and they use your default cost. So they use the cost that you have entered for the items, and they calculate that based on a percentage that you wish to mark up. So if you say, for example, an item is sold for $50, and we want to generate a price for that item where the item has a 100% markup. So you always make 100% marked up from your cost of this item. Then we would set that as our percentage. I know it says 50% here for the markup, so that's a little confusing. But if we're looking at specifically for markup, like 100% would give us $100 price for an item that has a default cost of 50. I believe if we set it to 50%, then it would just mark up to 75 if that's the case, because it's from the percentage of 50. So $50 markup of 50% would be $75 price. And that's it's something that's always kind of calculated in your system to begin with if you have a cost and prices entered, but it's something that we can also make it so that the price is applied here. That's what's happening with this. And finally, there's the margin type of discount. And so the margin is going to be cost minus your margin. So it's specific to what what margin you want on these products, like what's the margin of profit that you want to have. And so that works, again, basing off the cost of what you purchase this item for. Naturally, you need to have this stuff entered. So if you were to say enter a default cost of $50 and you set a margin price of 75, so you set your price rule that you want it to be a margin of 75% on this $50 product, it should generate a price of $200 for the actual charge itself. And so that'll make it so that whenever you sell this product that has a cost of $50, you're making a margin of 75% on it. And then the last one, again, the price level. So we see a couple of price levels here, like default, MSRP, or online. Let's say that for a week, you set all of your online prices to being $100 or you already have your online prices cheaper than your in-store prices, and you want to let in-store customers have the same discounts that the online customers receive, then you could use this margin rule to say, or the price type rule to say it's like for this week only, the online price applies in store. And that's all it does. You can see that there's also a discount option to add a discount on top of this. And so the price rules are kind of neat in that sense that they give you a little bit more control over, or maybe not more control, but a different type of control over your inventory and how they're discounted. So specifically, there's the main difference between these is price rules are really for when you want to make price adjustments. And that can be based on price level or desired margin or markup, or again, just a fixed price. Whereas discount rules are for automated discounts specializing in buy one, get one, or buy quantity, X quantity, get Y discount. But both of these are similar in the sense that you can set them up way ahead of time and just have them fully functioning and applicable at any time, really. And then you can also just remove them at any time, but they're pre-set up, so you wouldn't have to worry too much about it. Finally, I did say we were going to go over customer types, and this is it's pretty basic. It's not something that's that should be. It's not as complicated as automation or as the discount rules or the criteria behind it. All it is something that you can categorize groups of customers by. So customer types can be found under customers in their menu. So if you go to customers, there's a customer type button in there. And it's where you can apply just, this is great for saying if you want to give your employees a discount. You can create a price rule that sets your employees' cost to being like cost plus 10%, for example, where that's what they pay. They pay margin plus 10%, a margin of 10% on your products. And so now your employees are set up in that way, where now all you have to do is create their customer profiles in your system and tag them as a type to be the employee type. This can be used for senior citizens. It can be used for memberships. While it isn't tracked for memberships, it is something that's still usable. So if it's something that, let's say you have a yearly membership, each year you could make sure to remove all of the customers that are members and just re-add them as they come back in and say like restart their yearly membership. But super great, super neat tool. It lets you also set specific tax categories or specific discounts ahead of time. So yet another way to discount automatically through a customer type without having to use a price rule or a discount rule or actually manually apply the discounts yourselves. And so specific to this, If you set a tax rate under a customer type, what it does is that it pretty much ignores the base tax rate that you have for your store and overwrites it with whatever tax rate we have set up for this customer type whenever that customer is added to a sale. So let's say you have an out-of-state customer that doesn't pay state taxes, but they'll still pay federal. Then that customer would have a different tax rate, and you can create that as a customer type to say this is an out-of-state customer. They get this type of a tax rate specific. So whenever they're added to a sale, you don't have to think about changing the taxes on that sale. It should already be applied. The same goes for that discount. If you want to just say offer a 10% discount to all senior citizens, you can create a senior citizen customer type and just have that 10% discount always be automatically applied for them. While it's not as specific as the price rules, where in a price rule you can really designate what items qualify for that. This would be something really like if you just plan on letting them have access to everything with that, like all charges, it's an easy way of doing it. And you don't really have to worry about creating any additional price rules or setting any end dates or anything like that. This is just active as soon as you set it up. But just a great way of really qualifying customers and just categorizing them specifically as like a metric that we can use later on in groups for either discount rules or price rules. So we're going to get started with our Q&A session. I do have to have a couple of final notes to go over. So for one, this presentation has been being recorded, and it is going to be posted to the Lightspeed YouTube channel. You should be receiving a link in your emails as well regarding how to access the recording later on. I do see that we had mentioned it earlier on in the chat, but I wanted to make sure to reiterate that you will have access to this presentation. You'll be able to rewatch this as your heart sees fit, go through all the videos and all that, and that'll be easy access for you. The other thing I was asked to mention is that there is a bit of a Black Friday sale that's going on at Lightspeed right now. And since you have all signed up for this webinar, you kind of have a bit of early access through a link that's going to be sent to you through the email at the end of this webinar. Pretty much what the Black Friday sale covers is an extra 20% off if you add one add-on, and an extra 30% off if you add 2 or more add-ons to your Lightspeed retail system. Add-ons include the e-commerce platform, loyalty. So if you want to have like a point system, accounting for transferring information from Lightspeed Retail to your accounting softwares, and Lightspeed Analytics, which allows you to create and build your own reports or custom reporting for what you want to see. You are going to be receiving a link about this, so there's no need to contact anybody about it. Like if you want to take advantage of it, you will have full access to it. Aside from that, we should be ready to start answering questions. So we'll try and read them all together. There's going to be a few of us that hop on here. I believe I should be able to stop sharing the screen here for the time being, but we should be good to go from here. So if there's any questions or anything that you guys would like to know, and now's the time, have at it. Michelle, you're still on mute.
Hi, I'm Michelle. I am one of the escalation specialists, and there was one of the questions I was asked in the chat that I said that I would iron out, so I'll just read that out to you. It was regarding the iPad. So it was asked if it was possible to use custom menu buttons with discounts on the iPad. So it is possible. So I have my iPad here, so I could just like show you quickly. Can everyone see this? Hopefully you can. I'll put it like a little closer. But this is the profile screen, which is usually the name of the user that's logged in. And then there's the sales, and then there's the manager. So when using custom menus buttons, if you would like to do so, you'll have to click in there. And then go into settings. And then it'll just look like the desktop version of the software. And you'll notice as the steps that David just went through, which you could review in when you receive the email, you'll see that there is the button for custom menus here, and you can add it there and then go into the sales still on manager mode. So you'll go here in sales, and then you'll be able to see your custom menu button up here. So it's not possible, unfortunately, on the profile side at the moment, but it is possible to do on the iPad as long as you're on manager mode. I hope that answers the question a little more clearly.
I do see a question being asked here by Chris, and I see that Emilia is answering. But do you want to cover that one, Michelle, or do we think Emilia is going to be finishing here? It just jumps on and off here. I'm not sure. So the question is, how can I give a particular discount, say a military discount of 10% to all products except repair charges, such as labor or
Okay, yeah. So what's great about creating discount rules and price rules, there's a section that David showed where when you're creating the discount rule, there's a section underneath where you can add all your inventory, right? In doing that, there's also a way to only add by category, by brand. So if in that case, you can exclude only the labor items and include the rest of your inventory in the rule. Like you are able to adjust that setting to be made possible. I hope that answers the question. Was there any other questions that maybe came up that would like to be ironed out a little more? Okay, this was asked before. How can I offer a gift card? So like a gift card voucher. So in this case, it's a little different actually from discounts, unfortunately. So I would actually recommend calling in specifically to this. Although, just like a quick note, it is possible to do like free gift cards by using a non-integrated payment type. But this kind of steers a little bit away from what the webinar is discussing. So if you call in and let them know, I want to make a voucher for gift cards using a non-integrated payment type, you'll be able to walk through step by step on how to make this possible. But it is possible.
it's actually quite easy too. Like it's just in your settings under payment types. You can just create a payment type called free gift card or gift card promo or something along those lines.
So the next question is, can you call up archived rules to duplicate them for new rules? So there was a similar question asked about this. It is possible to always re-enter past price rules or discount rules, either if you want to reuse them and just adjust the date range, that's possible also. If you're like having the exact same items and customer types, instead of actually duplicating them, you could just adjust the date range so that it's active at that current time. So similar
Well,
to
that's yeah, that would be just for price rules, right? So discount rules, you still have that kind of rule of not being able to interact with it. But as far as archived rules go, you can find them at any time. There's going to be a button at the top of your price rules and discount rules pages that is asking you whether or not you also want to see archived rules or past rules that have been archived. Whereas you most of the time you just won't see them unless you select to say, I also want to see archived rules.
Still have a couple of more minutes if you guys have any last minute questions you want to sneak in. If you guys are interested in the ecom C-Series webinar, that is possible as well to be signed up for next week. So great.
Well, All right. We still have about 10 minutes left in the set off time. So if there are more questions, by all means, we'll be right here waiting for them. I would suggest again just to keep the meeting open up until the very end, just that you can receive that survey and give us some feedback on how we did. This is our first webinar, so we're very proud of what we've done so far and what we've accomplished. And we're hoping to build off of that. So if you have any comments or concerns or visions of the future, then by all means, feel free to stick around and just give us those comments in that survey that comes your way at the end of this. So here's a question from Jay. When will quantity discounts be added as an option? I'm not sure I entirely follow here, Jay. Do you mind just elaborating a little bit on that? Thanks for the heads up, James. So all of the info in the video, so everything that was printed, does that have to do with the slides themselves, or was that more the videos? Because the videos, that makes sense that they were a little blurry, and that's something we can definitely work on. But the print, is it by that, do you mean like just the slides? Well, technically, you would be a Chris for this one. So you're creating a we pay the tax rule. If you have a tax rate of 13% and you want to advertise that you're paying the tax, you're right. It isn't technically as simple as just adding in a 13% discount. Technically, that's going to lower the actual pre-tax amount of your charges. So what we could do for that is use either the miscellaneous charge to just discount at a flat rate the exact percentage of the taxes. Mind you, this wouldn't be a rule. So again, that would be something that's more manual. Okay, and so lots of questions all at once here.
Okay, yeah, so I understand what he's saying. So at the moment, this is not a feature that is possible, although there is a community forum. So if you were to write this and it has like enough people who are looking at in the same issue, it will likely be updated relatively quickly. So I can write a little note to that team and let them know that this is something of interest for you, Jay.
Yeah, because I think it is possible to do manually. I don't think it's something that's possible to do through a rule of any kind, like through a discount rule or through a price rule. However, if you're selling one spoke for 99 cents, 5 spokes for 75 cents, or 100 for 50 each, that could be something that we could potentially do in the discount rule. So we can potentially do that with a discount rule. It's just more a means of how we get it set up. So like one spoke, we can just set that as the base price at 99 cents. And then the discount rule, we would say it's like if you purchase 5 of these, you get however much 75, the difference between 75 cents and 99 cents is, it's like you get 14 cents off each item. You can do that fixed rate and then add a second rule where if we apply even more to that same item, then it gets that discount. But then the issue becomes more that we're discounting it at varying rates.
So just
I'm worried that it would.
yeah,
Sorry, go ahead,
just
Michelle.
to help you with that. So the thing is about having multiple discounts rules is that it'll always use the best discount in a sale. So it is possible to have these multiple discounts ongoing with this item, but it'll always take the cheapest. So it's worth conducting nonetheless, but it's just important rule of thumb when using it.
Cool.
So that's not shouldn't be happening. So if you're encountering that you're creating a discount rule with like the date range and it's not populating, I would recommend calling in to support as it should be available after being created. So it might be a possible issue there with the AI not loading accordingly after it's being made. I'm curious if you're using maybe desktop or iPad, because often the iPad will take a little more time. But yeah, worth looking into if this is occurring. Okay, yeah. So I see why this is happening. This can happen sometimes when you conduct something on your desktop and it's not automatically being demonstrated on the iPad because it's not syncing right away. In that case, you can either uninstall and reinstall the app. That acts like as a reboot, so it'll demonstrate like the correct discount right away, and that will usually solve it, the discount populating accordingly. So we have 1 more minute. So if you still have a question you want to sneak in there, by all means, please do.
And while we still have this last minute, we just want to thank everyone for their participation and sticking around till the very end of the webinar. We appreciate you participating in this as much as we enjoyed actually working on the presentation itself. It would be for nothing if we didn't actually have people participating. So thank you for joining us. All right. So I believe we've reached our time here. So thank you for your questions again. Thank you for your participation, and you should be receiving that survey immediately as this presentation ends. So thank you again for your participation, and I personally look forward to reading through your commentary. So for now, have a good rest of your day.